Hello and welcome to our second webinar of 2023. Today with our Senior Partner Manager, Daniel Zielke, who will present to you today ownCloud Spaces, boost your efficiency and productivity. Before we start, some housekeeping. This webinar will be recorded. You have later the possibility to ask questions through the chat in GoToWebinar on the right side of your control panel. We have some surveys for you today, which will you encourage to take part of. And of course, after the webinar, you have the possibility to get the recording and the slides. So for now, we're going to start. Daniel, the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the expert talk about ownCloud Spaces. If you have questions, please ask on the place you have the question, and you don't have to wait till I finished my presentation. We have prepared, before we are going to take a look into the different areas in ownCloud Infinite Scale, question for you for the beginning, and it would be very nice if you answer this question. That makes the possibility to find out if are all beginners or if you have used. Okay, we have mostly you have not used Infinite Scale. I think you will change that after this expert talk. I hope so. And we have in Infinite Scale three different areas. At first, the personal stage you probably know. Here you can create your folders and your structure for saving your data. At second, we have an area with shared content. On the one side, shared with you. On the other side, share what you shared with others. And you have a good overview what you gave to whom, and you always keep control over that. And the third part, and about that we will talk much more, is spaces. Spaces are virtual data rooms, and like you can see, it's not a typical folder. It's indeed a space, and you can create this space. You can give the space a face, for example, with a picture or with an icon. And what you can do in detail, I will show you through the next slides. Before we go into the slides any further, please ask our second question we have for you. How important is digital sovereignty for you? And there I'm very excited what your answer is. I have an idea what most of you will answer, but we see the result. 67% say very important and 33% say not important. That's interesting. And it fits to the circumstance that we, as with Infinite Scale, not only give you the possibility to work with other open source collaboration tools, for example, like Collabora or on the Office. You also have the possibility to save your data created in Microsoft 365 into the ownCloud Spaces. And you can work in your files with ownCloud from ownCloud Spaces with Microsoft 365. So you have many possibilities and no regression in any way. Spaces are data rooms, and spaces are also virtual workspaces. So like you have seen, you can individualize your spaces. What are the spaces? They make administration easier and more efficient. That's because you, as creator of the space, are the manager of the space. You don't need an administrator to add members to your space. You can do it yourself, and you also can give roles and rights to the members of your space, and that makes not necessary to have an administrator who is doing this. Workspaces, and that's, I think, the most important point, don't depend on single persons or their accounts. That means, in fact, it doesn't matter if any member of the space still is in your organization, company, or whatever. The data of the space and the space itself still exists after everybody in the space has left the organization. And that makes your data usable also, although the person who created the space has left. Spaces make your collaboration configurable, what means you have roles and rights, and can therefore choose in which way you like to work together. Spaces permit secure collaboration with external and internal partners, and that is also a very important point, after my opinion, because you don't need several possibilities to share your data or to collaborate with your data with external, and have another place for internal collaboration. In Spaces, you have the possibility for both. Spaces come with integrated role and permission concepts. I said that already, and I will show you later what I mean. Spaces offer individual granular options, for example, per project. So you can use a space as a project room to work with your whole project team in this project. Or you can use a space, for example, for some special content that is then in one space where everybody can find it. And spaces allow permanent or project-related settings. So you can change your settings, as I told you, if it is needed, and you are most flexible with spaces to stay in collaboration with others, with internal and external colleagues or partners. Improvements that come with spaces. You all know possibly the situation. Data is bound to a personal account. We talked about that. Then you have perhaps silos, multiple storage for related data. And that always means it's difficult to find the right data because you have several places where you have to take a look. Meta-knowledge on where to find information is scarce business risk. The company depends on undocumented single person's knowledge. That's almost not good for nobody. Data is often lost when people leave. I also talked about that. Organization change or due to standard IT processes, for example, passwords expire. So the colleague has left and you find his data, but he set a password, and then you have the problem that you cannot use this data. But you want to use the data further on, so it is a problem. Many companies know ghost user accounts of retired colleagues, etc. And I think everybody of you has seen that before, that because one of your former colleagues was administrator, you find his name in special software, but you never knew him and you will not know him because he almost left the company, but because of all the informations are connected with his personal account, you have to take him on as a ghost user, and that's something that's not really nice and not useful. Safe and secure collaboration with externals is not easy as well. So you have compliance rules versus, for example, mounting external storage. And with Spaces, we have a solution because nobody needs to work with external storage. And that are situations everybody of you, I think, already had. A single source of truth, infinite scale spaces, data rooms do not depend on individual personal accounts. I already said, and I think you have seen why this is very useful and helpful. Spaces allow structured storage for all data on the topic. That means you have one place where everybody can find everything that exists about this topic, and that has many advantages, I think. Single source of truth, all data relevant for a topic is always accessible to everybody involved. And collaboration with external partners takes place in one defined location. And that is the location, the space in infinite scale, where you have your data saved yourself. So you have stored it there, and you can collaborate with external partners exactly on the same space. Let's take a look what you can do with the spaces. At first you have a menu, and you can watch the members, you can rename your space, you can edit subtitles, you can also edit a description, and I think the description in combination with a picture or icon you use is in the best case self-explaining. So if new colleagues take part of your work, you can show them the space, and in the best case, everybody knows by reading your description and recognizing the picture or icon what he will find in the space and what he can do there. So you have very small ways for your new colleagues to get them possible to work. The onboarding process is very smart, I think, or can be very smart with spaces. Here, for example, the municipality of Nuremberg, we have here 3 folders. From 1 is the city council, 2 is public affairs, and 3 is the finance department, and you can also add many more. And on the right side, you see the members of the space. And you see here me, and you see a colleague of mine. And what you can also see is he has no access for the finance department folder. Why? Because he has nothing to do with the finance department. And that is one possibility you have. You can add space members, and for all the folders you don't want them to get access, you choose them, and after that they have no access. That means they can work in your space generally, but not in every folder, and that makes the possibility really for really granular working into the space. You have also different roles. So if I add a colleague or an external partner, I can here say if I like him to be a viewer, an editor, if I give him custom permissions or no access. And of course, someone can also be a manager of the space. normally per default, it's the creator of the space. If I don't want to add a user because, for example, he only needs one document I have laid down I've saved in my space, I can send him a link. And here I also can say, is he internal? Is he only viewer? Is he contributor, editor, or uploader? So, for example, if you're working with an external company creating your marketing material, what else? You can send them a link and say you are uploader. That means they can they have no access on the data into the folder in your space, but they can upload materials into the space, respective into the folder. And I think that's great because it makes possible that you have many options for collaboration, internal and external. I also can add an expiration data or a password by sending the link. So if you're working in a project with some people, you can set the data for from the end of the project as expiration data, and after the project is done, they have no access any longer. Before I come to my last slide, we have a last question for you. And it would be nice if you answer that question. Will you try infinite scale soon? And with soon, we mean soon. And I'm really excited. Yes, that sounds good. And it was that what I hoped you would say. In fact, it's your sovereign decision. No matter which software you use for collaboration, if creative tools, office tools, it doesn't play a role. In fact, you can store it in a space. All the files you create, you can store in the space. Of course, ownCloud Infinite Scale spaces respect all GDPR, DSGVO, and compliance rules. I think that has to be clear, and it is clear for us, so it's no question if we do or not. Also, of course, we do. Spaces will smoothly make your organization much more efficient because they make many aspects of change management obsolete. That was the point I was talking about Microsoft 365. If you say, I like to get storage for my data, which is digital sovereign, but I like to work further on with Microsoft 365, it's no problem because we have a connector, and that means you can use the software you have, and you don't have to change software, and so you don't have to do a change management, and that has many advantages, I think. You can facilitate, because ownCloud spaces facilitate internal and external cooperation, integrate your existing software, I already said. The spaces do not require provision of any new software, they just work. That's also a point I think that is very important for your planning, and spaces offer unlimited scalability. That's the reason why it is called infinite scale, because it's cloud native software architecture. So we really have unlimited scalability. So you always have the chance to get what you need, and that because of the cloud native architecture. And spaces do not require any database or similar extra backends. What means you need less resources because you don't have a database, and you don't have to operate a database, and so you need less person and less infrastructure, and have unlimited scalability. It's your decision, and our solution for that is infinite scale. I thank you for your audience, and if you have any questions, please ask me. If you have now no questions but later, you can contact me by mail or by mobile, and I hope I can give you the answers to your questions. But of course, if you have questions now, please ask me.
Thank you, Daniel. Like I said in the beginning, we have a chat here in GoToWebinar. It should be located on the right side of your window usually. I also posted that you can write down questions there. So now would be the time to post your question in the chat, and I will read it to Daniel and he will answer it for you. But so far there are no questions or no movement in the chat, it seems like. Let's give our attendees another minute.
So there are only two possibilities. Either I answered all questions that could exist, or
yes,
it was so much input that we have no question at this time.
We have a question. It's about the presentation, if we can share it. And yes, of course, you get a follow-up email to the webinar with the recording and with the slides from Daniel. So it will take until the beginning of the next week, but you will find the presentation in your inbox.
And if someone especially wants this presentation in German, it's also available.
Okay, so it doesn't seem that there are any further questions. Then I would say thank you from my side for attending our webinar. Our next webinar, we have a tech talk coming up on the 20th of April, where our CTO Klaas will present ownCloud Infinite Scale as a data platform for your application. It will be quite technical. You're welcome to join us and ask your questions there or learn more about ownCloud. Thanks a lot, and have a nice day from my side.
Have a good time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.